guys, welcome to One More Ridge podcast. I am your host, Brad Foster, and today we'll be talking about the first state that you should apply for, and that is New Mexico. New Mexico is one of the easiest states to apply to if you're a brand new hunter, just getting into hunting. If you're a New Mexico resident, it is perfect. It's going to be your cheapest opportunity to get out in the field and go hunting. If you're not, just pay a listen. It might not be in the cards this year, but make sure it's in your head for next year or the years after that. So New Mexico is super simple and super easy. The main reason why it's super easy and super simple to get into is because they don't do draw points. They don't do preference points. They don't do any of that kind of stuff, weighted points. We'll get into that a lot further down the line when we talk about other states. But New Mexico is, to me, the best draw system that is out there. It is 100% random. So even if it's your first year applying or your 99th year of applying, you have the same odds as everybody else. So if you put your name in that pot and if you draw your tag, you're going hunting this fall. So why I'm doing a push for this, it is the first week of March. These application dates are due March 19th. So it is very short notice, but you do not have to apply this year. Keep it in your mind, but I would recommend it because it is super simple to get into. The only thing that stinks with New Mexico is you have to do the money up front. For instance, their non-resident deer tag is $368. And you have to upfront that cost right off the bat. When you apply, you have to pay that money. If you don't draw the tag, you get your money back. Thank goodness. But you know what they say, you can't win the Super Bowl if you don't strap on your cleats and go kick the baseball. You can't draw a hunt. You can't draw your elk tag or deer tag if you don't apply. So I would recommend you applying if you're a New Mexico resident and you're just getting into hunting. If you're non-resident, maybe get a couple years under your boots to see how elk hunting is. If you love it, when you love it, not just elk hunting, deer hunting, any type of big game hunting. New Mexico is really cool because they have your standard big game hunting like deer. They got white-tailed deer and mule deer. They have elk. They have bear. They have pronghorn antelope. They have both bighorn sheep and desert bighorn sheep, Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep, and desert sheep. They also have what people call exotics, and those are the ibex, the oryx, the Barbary sheep. They're out there just free range. So you could hunt any of those species. It's all random draw. And New Mexico's kind of cool because they have two different categories for their hunts. They have a standard, and then they have a quality and high demand hunt. So your standard is going to be cheaper, and then your high quality, your quality hunt and your high demand is going to be more expensive. Those are going to be your better units that have better quality animals, potential for bigger trophies. So as a non-resident, for your standard deer tag is going to be $283. Your high quality deer tag is going to be $368. For your standard elk, it's going to be $548. For your quality high demand is going to be $773. Antelope's $283. Here's the big one. Bighorn sheep tag, if you're applying for either Rocky Mountain or desert, it's going to be $3,100 or $3,173. So that's the big thing, is you have to upfront that $3,100 when you apply for the tag. That's why a lot of people are staying away from New Mexico, because even though they do have a quick turnaround, like a month and a half, 2 months, that $3,100 is just floating in Never Land. We don't know where it's actually being at. Ibex and oryx, they're at $1,600. Barbary sheep is at $375 for non-residents, and then black bear's at $260. One thing that is interesting about New Mexico is how they do the tag allocation breakdown. For residents, they do 84%. So that means 84% of their tags that they are allowed from the state, they're going to residents. To me, that makes sense because you want to treat your residents properly, because they're the ones paying taxes all year, and they're the ones that are putting money into your environment 20 or 365 days a year. So residents are 84%. They also have a little guided allocation. This is for anybody that's either non-resident or a resident that wants to go hunting with a guide. They take 10% of the tag allocations. To me, this is where you get your better draw odds for non-residents. But you have to be under contract with a guide to even apply for this section. There's when you apply, there's a little checkbox. Make sure you check that if this is the process you're going through. And then non-residents, as a do-it-yourself backcountry like myself, we would get 6% of the tax. So it's kind of up to you on if you are non-resident, if you want to do non-resident allocations or guided. If you are a resident, you do get majority of the tag, which is fantastic. There's some states that don't even do non-resident tags. South Dakota, you can't do a non-resident elk tag. So for every state, it's going to be different. But for states to even allow you to go hunting in their state, you should feel privileged because some states don't even allow it. Their draw process is pretty cool as well. For being in an all random state, your draw odds are not super, super great. There is one unit that is in the southern part of the state that has a 100% chance to draw every single year for archery. If that is your jam, 100% will get you down there shooting, trying to chase some elk 100% of the time is your draw. I don't know if the unit's very good or not, but you could be spending your $773 every year archery hunting down there in southern New Mexico. But majority of the tags are going to be 12% or lower. There's some that are even at 0.01% chance, kind of like a bighorn sheep tag. But their draw process is very cool just because they give you 3 choices. And what you want to do with those 3 choices is your first choice is going to be your hardest tag to draw. It's going to be the tags that are, have the best trophy potential. So it's usually like your 0.12s or your 0.04s, those kind. And those are, usually in the west central side of the state, or even the north central part of the state, depending on what you're thinking about. Because there's some good quality elk for New Mexico. If you're going deer, there's some good in the same areas, good quality deer. Oryx is in the bottom part of the state, so with the Barbary sheep are in the bottom. It kind of just depends on what goals you wrote down. If New Mexico was part of it, if say Oryx in New Mexico is part of it, we'll figure that out. The brochure has a ton of information, but we can dive in and help you out for that. But going back for the draw process, they give you 3 choices. You want your hardest to draw choice at the very top as your first choice, and then your second choice just a little bit easier to draw, and then your third choice the easiest out of the 3 to draw. Because how they do it is they put your name in this bucket, and then they pull your name out, and they'll say, first choice is elk season 6A. They'll look and see if they have any tags on 6A. If they don't, they'll go to your second choice. Say it's 16B is your second choice. 16B, there's no tags. And say your third choice is 12B, or we'll do 21B. 21B is your third choice. There's 3 tags in 21B. You get your tag, you get your third choice of 21B. These are just numbers I'm throwing out. I know there are units in New Mexico. I don't know how good these units are. This is just off the top of my head. But this is just how the draw process works. There is a 4th option, that 4th choice that you can put in for, but these are going to be your leftover tags, usually your cow tags if you're doing elk, or the buck tag that no one really wants to draw, or to me it kind of seems like a money grab for the state of New Mexico, because it's kind of whatever's left over that they feel like they want to sell. So those are the draw process. Also, you can hunt archery down there, you can hunt rifle, and they also have muzzleloader, open sights muzzleloader, very similar to Colorado. Black powder is, you pour the powder down the barrel and then have a primer, shove the ball down, everything like that. And then to apply, super simple. You create an account, username, password, stuff like that. You click on the side, it says draw hunt application. And I'll have this little thing on the side that walks you through on what to pick. Create new application. You select your species on what you want to draw. For example, like your elk, I said your first choice, you do 1 unit that's hard to draw. Your second unit is a little easier to, or your second choice is a little easier unit to draw. And then your third choice is the easiest out of the 3. And then your option to do the fourth choice. So that's all up to you. One cool thing about New Mexico though, is it offers you an e-tag choice. So you can either download your hunting tag onto your smartphone, or you can just have them ship you a paper form of your hunting tag. I like to do the paper form just because it's a control thing for me. I like to make sure that I have a hold of my tag all the time. And then you add it to your cart, make sure everything's good, make sure your address is good to go, and then you pay for it. And like I said, everything for New Mexico is going to be upfront. They do a quick turnaround when you feel like you're out $4,000. If you applied for a bighorn sheep tag and you don't draw, you're not out very long. You're out for a couple months. And I say this not to deter you from applying to it, because I'll probably apply for New Mexico. But it's one of those that you got to start somewhere. And if you're a New Mexico resident, highly recommend you start applying for New Mexico. Everything, with how easy it is to apply, I highly recommend New Mexico residents applying for as many species as you want to go hunting this year. Because even though it's slim odds to draw a bighorn sheep tag, like I said, you have the same amount of chance as the person that lives next door. I say go for it. Yeah, and after that, it's kind of simple. Just, you fill it out, add it to cart, you pay for it. A few months later, you get your tag. One cool thing I like about New Mexico is they raise a lot of money for hunting. Just with the New Mexico Game and Fish, hunting tags accumulate $400 million just in that. And then with people going hunting, it is a multi-billion-dollar business. They go skyrocket. I think it's $1.5 billion a year, which is second to New Mexico's ski industry. So hunting is a very popular activity to do in New Mexico. It helps out the economy. They have some great species of big game out there. So I say apply for it, especially if you're a New Mexico resident. If you're not, if this is, first year, if you're in Florida or California or New York, Michigan, something like that, I would probably look at Colorado. That's going to be my next state to jump into. But New Mexico's always there. I feel like it's getting a lot of people are deterring away from it just because of the upfront cost. And it does hit pretty hard, but it's a pretty good state to hunt. And so with that, that's my wrap up of New Mexico. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Email us at onemoreridge@gmail.com. Find us on the Instagram at onemore_ridge. And as always, keep pushing through and going that one more ridge. Thanks, guys.